Howdy y'all and welcome. I hope everybody's doing well out there so far and happy St. Patty's Day. Did you know that corned beef isn't actually Irish? Despite being a St. Patrick's Day staple in the US, corned beef and cabbage was popularized by Irish immigrants in America, who adapted it from Jewish neighbors. In Ireland, bacon or lamb was more traditional. Pinching tradition. Wearing green protects you from leprechaun pinches. Folklore states that they pinch those not honoring the day with the proper color, which as you can see, of course, I ain't wearing green. I don't own any green clothes, I don't think, so I guess go ahead and pinch me, I guess. And happy St. Patty's Day out there to those who are celebrating this Irish holiday. Now on to the weather here. We did have some significant severe weather in the past couple of days, which yesterday really didn't pan out too much other than it was just mainly a big old wind event with one tornado report. There was over 330 wind reports with only one large hail report in the mid-Atlantic region, and it was a moderate risk as well, so I guess that was the best case scenario from that situation anyways. So what about the 15th? This has been updated to include over 25 tornado reports, over 716 wind reports, and 81 large hail reports. So looks like the spring severe weather season is starting off with a bang, and with spring right around the corner, will this continue or will winter finally make its last hurrah? Well, we did have some blizzard conditions up here in Wisconsin the past few days, and you can see how much snow fell up there. Over a foot to 2 feet fell up there in Wisconsin. This ain't gonna last too long though, and we'll get into why that is here in a little bit. I think we're gonna be coming in on some very warm temperatures here very soon, but let's go ahead and get into it here. As we take a look at the probabilistic maps here of the U.S. hazards outlook for the next 8 to 14 days, there's really not much going on. As first, we're going to take a look at the precipitation. Not much in the way of heavy precipitation going on. Could be a quiet weather pattern for the next couple of weeks. Other than maybe there's not even any wind either. And we did have some high winds the other day, which actually affected our neighbors' roofs and actually tore off a piece of our flashing here at the Williams Weather headquarters. So it was a very, very windy day. But other than that, really, we didn't really get in on much other than just a big line of showers and storms, which dropped down the temperatures from 75 degrees down to close to freezing and unfortunately snowfall. So let's go ahead and get into the weather pattern as winter could make its last hurrah as we usher in the first day of spring, in which I say, sayonara winter, don't want to see you ever again. So as we take a look at the simulated radar here, keep in mind that date and time is right here if you ever want to keep track, by the way. We can see that big system that brought severe weather and blizzard conditions here to much of us here out east. And we can see today really not much going on except for some pesky snow showers up here in the northeast and some snow showers up here in the higher elevations of the Smokies and just lake effect snow here in the Great Lakes region and some snowfall as well up here in the northern plains. But overall, much of the country is looking to be very, very quiet today. So that's some good news. It's looking like we could, unfortunately, as we head into Wednesday, come in on some just pesky snow showers. Unfortunately, winter don't want to let go, hence the thumbnail of winter's last hurrah as we usher in spring here on Friday. And speaking of Friday, here on the first day of spring, most of us are unfortunately going to be coming in on snow on the first day of spring, so that sucks. But overall, it's looking like much of the country is heading into a quiet pattern as we head into the weekend. As we take a look at the weekend, well, if you have any weekend plans, it looks like a good weekend to make those plans, but unfortunately it looks like it could be a little chilly here in the central and northern plains potentially, and we'll get into the temperatures here in a little bit. But watch as we head in the middle of next week, we could be heading back into another active and soggy weather pattern here out east and even out west, as we could have a quote-unquote atmospheric river going on out there. I know we always call these atmospheric rivers, but it's really a good name to call them. I'll put the definition of it right here, but looks like a lot of heavy snowfall and rainfall regardless up here in the Pacific Northwest and over here by Idaho and Montana. Looking like we could come in on some soggy conditions here out east, and unfortunately it's muddy floor season. Push off further into the future, of course, gets more uncertain as we head over 100 hours out, but could head into an active weather pattern as we head into late next week and into next weekend. And we could come into another severe weather pattern here in the south central plains. But other than that, it's looking like really the next couple of weeks is going to be pretty quiet here amongst much of the lower 48. So that's some good news anyways. Hence why the Climate Prediction Center showed us that there's no hazards for wind or even precipitation. But let's go ahead and take a look at the Climate Prediction Center's 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook. And they're showing us that really much the country's heading into near normal to well below average precipitation. We can see here in the southwest, we're heading to well below average territory down there, which as we take a look at the drought map, not much drought conditions going on down there unless you live in Arizona and New Mexico. Really dry here in Colorado, so could use the rainfall out there, but unfortunately looks like the next 6 to 10 days is going to be very dry out there unless you live up here in the Pacific Northwest all the way up here into the upper Midwest and down here by Florida. Now the next 8 to 14 days looks like much of the same story unless you live down here in Texas where above average precipitation is expected down there, but look like much of the same areas are coming in on below average and above average precipitation. A little bit more near normal here in the Mid-South and Ohio Valley Midwest, so quiet weather pattern in store for the next couple of weeks, which we could use it. We did come in on a very active weather pattern here to start off March. We'll take it, not complaining here. And as we take a look at the rest of the country for drought conditions, well, Florida, looks like much of y'all are coming in on drought conditions and could be getting in on a well-needed break from the drought as above average precipitation is expected for the next couple of weeks. Zoom out here, really looks like much of the country is in some sort of drought conditions, so looks like we could come in on worsening drought conditions for most, but for some areas I think who need it are going to be getting in on well needed rain. As we take a look at the precipitation totals for the next couple of weeks here in the national blended models, we can see who's getting in on the jackpot of rain. Look like the Pacific Northwest getting in on the jackpot. Close second is up here by the Northeast. Some of this could be snowfall, by the way, as well. Zoom in here to the eastern part of the country. We can see pretty quiet weather pattern for the next couple of weeks. That's some good news. Out west, of course, Pacific Northwest coming in on a lot of heavy precipitation. Of course, as I said earlier, we are in the muddy floor season, essentially. Now, the snowfall totals. We can see the Northeast coming in on pretty significant snowfall, as well as out here in the Pacific Northwest and California mountains. Upper Midwest coming in on even more snowfall, unfortunately. Take a look out east. You can see winter's going to be making its last hurrah up here the next couple of weeks. Out west, same story out there as well, but there is some ski resorts out there. I think they're still open anyways, so get out there and enjoy those if you have any near you, and I think they should be closing down here very soon. I'd have to check on that, but get out there and enjoy those regardless if they are open. Now, before we get into the temperatures, take a look at the Climate Prediction Center's wording on the ENSO pattern. I'll be talking about this in my April outlook. I think next Friday I'll have it uploaded. Irregardless, I'll have it uploaded by the end of the month. So stay tuned for that, and it's looking like we could be heading out of La Nina and into El Nino as we head into the summertime and especially into the winter months later on in the year. So what does this mean? Well, I did write a post on X and Facebook about this, but basically what does El Nino mean for our late spring into early summer and especially into next winter? Well, I think severe weather season is going to start to tamper down, especially as we head into April, as we're supposed to be heading into La Nina and into neutral. And then for summertime, I think we're going to be coming in on a very dry summer for much of us. And as far as winter goes, well, I think it's going to be a little bit warmer than normal. But of course, I'll be letting y'all know in my seasonal outlooks coming up. So stay tuned for that. Now, as far as risk of hazardous temperatures goes, well, there's a slight risk down here in the Pacific Southwest. So it's looking like it's going to be very dry and very hot down there in the Pacific Southwest for the next couple of weeks. Now on to the temperatures of what we could expect. See today, very chilly for much of us here out east and really for much of the country, unless you live down here in the Southwest and of course Southern Florida. Very jealous of y'all, as I always am this time of year, because winter seems like it never wants to let go, unfortunately. Hence why I put on the thumbnail, it's going to be winter's last hurrah, because I think we're going to be coming in on a slight warm-up. We head into the end of this week. We can see those warm temperatures gradually creeping towards the north as we head into Friday, and we can see as we head into the first day of spring. On good old Friday, we can see much of us are actually going to be feeling like spring, unless you live up here in northeast North Dakota, all the way down here into the northeast. So it won't be feeling like spring for y'all, but for the rest of us, it'll be feeling like spring, so get there and enjoy that. course, it's going to be a very dry weekend for much of us here in the lower 48, and there's actually a race down here in Florida this weekend. I'll be breaking down the forecast for that next on Facebook, so stay tuned. Go Corvette Racing, by the way. They have their America 250 livery, so rooting them on as I always do. And of course, once we move out of the weekend, look like we could head back into a little cold snap again. Unfortunately, volatile temperatures usually means an active weather pattern, which was shown earlier. As we head into late next week, could head back into another active weather pattern again, which is going to result in a volatile temperature pattern as well. We can see warm air creeping up from the south, cold air creeping down from the north, and of course, we're knocking those nice warm temperatures out, bringing severe weather as well. But don't worry, we're going to be back into those nice warm temperatures again. We head into the end of this month and into the beginning of April, where we can already see April 1st. That is April Fool's Day, by the way, and I'll definitely have a surprise for y'all. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but it's going to be something special for y'all on that day, so stay tuned for that. So basically, next couple of weeks gonna be warmer than normal for us here amongst much of the lower 48, unless you live up here in the northeast. Well above average here in the southwest, so it's gonna be very dry and very hot down there. Feeling like summer down there. Next 8 to 14 days, much of the same story. So we could be coming in on a very volatile temperature pattern for the next couple of weeks, but we're gonna be leaning above average here amongst much of the country, unless you live up into the northeast. As we usher in spring, fortunately, winter don't want to let go, but it could be winter's last hurrah as we head towards the end of the month, as we usher in spring and usher in those nice warm temperatures. So to recap, basically this big old system that brought blizzard conditions and severe weather is going to be getting out of our hair, dealing with some lake effect snow all the way through this weekend. But got any weekend plans? It's gonna be very nice out there. It's gonna be very dry for much of us, unless you live here in the northeast, very far northern plains and northwest. Gonna be good conditions for that Sebring race this weekend as well, so make those weekend plans accordingly. Gonna be very nice out there as we usher in spring on Friday. Now after Fridays, we head into next week. It's looking like we could head into another active weather pattern here in the northeast, but overall, much of the country is looking to be very quiet. And then watch as we head into late next week, we could head back into another active weather pattern once again, as we are going to be dealing with some very soggy conditions out east, very snowy and wet conditions here in the northwest with a potential atmospheric river going on. And then we could be dealing with some more severe weather again as we head into the end of the month here in the south central part of the country. So essentially, it can be quiet for the next couple of weeks, but watch as we head towards the end of the month, we could head back into another active weather pattern. As far as temperatures goes, well, it's gonna be pretty chilly for the next couple of days here for much of us, unless you live down there in the southwest and western part of the country. Don't worry though, as we head into the first day of spring, we're gonna be gradually warming up for much of us, unless you live up here in the northeast. And then we're gonna be back into those very chilly temperatures yet again as we head into early next week. And then we're going to warm up again. And then this is when I'm expecting another active weather pattern to shape up, as that cold air is going to be knocking that warm air back down again. But don't worry though, head towards the end of the month, going to be warming back up yet again. So could be dealing with winter's last hurrah here as we head into this weekend and into next week. So all I can say is welcome spring. Glad to see you. Goodbye, winter. And to put this into perspective here's the troughing and ridging map. You can see a ridge out west, trough out east that brought that major storm system that brought blizzard and severe weather conditions here out east. That's going to be getting out of our hair as we head into the first day of spring on Friday. Could be dealing with some potential zonal flow here as we head into this weekend. But watch as we head past this weekend. Could be heading into another troughing pattern once again here, at least here in the upper Great Lakes and northeast potentially. Dealing with some major ridging conditions here in the southwest. That's why it's going to be so dry and so hot down there. And then watch as we head into late next week. Definitely going to be coming in on a major ridge here for much of us. But watch this trough here in the Pacific Northwest. It's going to be bringing a whole bunch of moisture and a whole bunch of volatile weather conditions here out east as it's going to be heading our way. We can see the pinks here means a lot more wind shear, which means basically we're going to be dealing with some either severe weather, flooding, or even blizzard conditions potentially. The end of the month, which was shown earlier on the simulated radar, where we could be coming into some severe weather at the end of the month. Now that's to be determined, as this is well over 300 hours out. Can will change between now and then. But now what I'm trying to hammer home is basically the next couple of weeks is going to be very quiet for much of us in the lower 48. Could be dealing with some cold conditions all the way through the weekend, but once we head into the weekend, it's going to be pretty nice as we usher in springtime. But unfortunately, to start off next week, it's going to be very chilly. It's going to be winter's last hurrah, unfortunately. But don't worry, though, if you hate wintertime and are looking forward to some spring weather as we usher in spring, well, looks like we're going to finally get into that as we head into late next week. But unfortunately, we could be heading back into another active weather pattern as we head into the end of the month, which usually volatile temperatures means a volatile active weather pattern, which is shown here on the troughing and ridging map. So basically, next couple of weeks, enjoy the weather. It'll be very nice out there, for much of us anyway. Now, if you stayed this far in the video, I'd like to thank y'all. As a thank you, let's go ahead and take a look at the birdcast map to check out the bird migration. As we inch closer to springtime, you can see the night of March 17th. Not many birds are going to be moving through. It's supposed to be 19 million birds because it's pretty chilly out there, much of the eastern part of the country. The night of March 18th, a little bit more, right around 32 million birds, as it's starting to gradually warm up as we head into the first day of spring. Night of March 19th, there's a lot more, right around 40 million projected to move through as we usher in springtime. And as we take a look at the live bird migration map from last night, not many birds were moving through. I don't really know how they get their numbers, but over 16 million birds moved through last night, which is not many. This number will pick up as we head into April. And here is the average peak migration dates for when those birds start to move towards the north. We can see they start moving towards the north on April 24th and finish by May 15th. So we'll be taking a look at all of this through the middle of May, and I will be actually having my hurricane outlook up before y'all know it, as hurricane season is pretty much right around the corner. So I hope each and every one of y'all enjoyed this little forecast. If you did, please make sure you hit that like and share button so more folks are informed about the weather. Also, leave me some feedback in the comment section down below, as any feedback helps provide you, the viewer, better and more informative content in the future. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below, as here in Wins Weather, we try to make weather forecasting fun and informative. So basically, enjoy the quiet weather pattern while it lasts, because it's looking like we're going back into more muddiness and muddy floors as we head into the end of this month and into the beginning of April. So again, enjoy the weather as we usher in the first day of spring. And as always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate all of y'all for watching. And until next time, never stop forecasting.
Fuck time change!
That was close! Time to chase those storms! Let's go!
Oh damn, this is getting serious. I need to go. Major tornado outbreak potential today! Ah, fuck, it's Duck Donald's. I am starving though. Maybe Hooters will be a treat tonight if I catch a twister. I hate this fucking Duck Donald's, so the food better be fucking fresh!
This order better fucking be correct.
Those stupid bastards! They shorted me a duck nugget! You stupid bastards shorted me a duck nugget! I want a full refund!
What are you laughing at?
I'm taking my business elsewhere!
I pissed in his drink for being such an asshole.
No
He totally deserved it.
This storm is gonna shit the bed, damn it!
And this burger is cold.
This drink tastes like piss!
I pissed in his drink for being an asshole.
Yes! A tornado warning! Now where's my laptop? I need it! Aha! There it is! Finally, let's get rolling! Woo! Whoa, holy shit! I gotta get out of here! It's heading towards me! What the hell, you idiot? What the duck is this dumbass doing? You stupid son of a bitch! Learn how to drive, you stupid son of a bitch!
Finally, a nice hot meal with some beautiful women. I earned this tonight. This is way better than Duck Donald's. These wings are hot and the beer's cold. You're cute. What's your number?
Yes, of course. It's 8675309.
Sucky, I love you long time! Get his horny ass out of here!
Well, mister, maybe you should have asked me on a date before smacking my butt. Now you're in horny jail. Happy April Fool's, Buster.
Please, let me out.
You've been in there long enough. I saw your Twister footage on the news.